So let's speak now to Russian journalist Rustem Safronov in Moscow. Rustem, a very good evening to you, and thank you so much for speaking to us. Perhaps let's just first start with your account of how Russians are bearing this down, the isolation, the sanctions. How is it practically impacting on daily life in Russia?
Well, so far, obviously, people did not experience major difficulties, although some banking systems already indicate arrival of troubles. And we can see the course of the dollar and the euro are skyrocketing. Additionally to everything else, a lot of companies which affiliated with the Western companies stopped the operating in Russia and shut down. So, and people, some people laid off already. So, but of course, main difficulties yet to come. It's only beginning, obviously. I do have to say Russians have a long experience, lived through different calamities and suffering, not only during the Second World War, but in 19th, during the time of troubles, when all economy was in the process of disarray and changing and privatization got started. It was very hard time, and people had very little money and didn't have access to basic supply, but they survived. So now we do have a new generation which didn't live very difficult yet. But I guess it's the time when they'll experience some very serious difficulties, because it's going to be a crisis comparable with the crisis what people have after destruction of the Soviet Union.
Rustem, can you share with us, I know the Russian president mentioned that there'd be tweaking of the inflation rate in order to bring the ruble back to its normal levels, but consumer buying power, how much has that been affected? As we mentioned, Russia has said that it already had financial systems in place within Russia to insulate the people of Russia from these sanctions, saying that some of these sanctions have been in place for a while now. But has life changed from, say, just 10 days ago to what it is now?
So far we could see the rise of the prices for some of the products in groceries in the supermarket, but not too much yet. Not too much yet. It's supposed to be, delayed effect of all these troubles. People understand it's coming. They're trying to withdraw money from banks and store currency just to be able to preserve the value of currency. Otherwise, they think maybe it could be end up in situation when banks would start to give out the cash, you wouldn't be able to withdraw money. Of course, government is assuring they will have enough currency intervention to stabilize ruble in a certain level, but change in the course of the next few weeks.
Now, I mentioned that there has been some sanctions from beyond the economic sector. There's been in sports, there's been in entertainment, there's been in culture. Hollywood, for instance, saying that it will pull films scheduled for release in Russia, including blockbusters such as Batman, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, The Lost City. So is this something that people are talking about? Do they see it as a loss? I mean, in time...
That mostly has a validity for the youth, because youth generation grew up with overwhelming access to Hollywood production. Like my generation lived with very limited amount of Hollywood films. We didn't care so much about that, but young generations, that's what they talk about. The heroes of contemporary films and sitcoms, it's relevant material for them. They always compare themselves with the heroes of that, and they discuss that. Plus, also, our film industry did not produce enough films to be able to fulfill all movie theaters with enough production. So even in the best time of the last 20, 30 years, Russian films contained only 28% of everything which was showing into the movie theaters. So obviously, a lot of them going to collapse financially or have to be shut down. So that's the big thing. And about athletes, yes, everybody heard about that decision, feel very much painful. Even our foreign minister said Russia was ready for sanctions, but we didn't expect sanctions would affect athletes and diplomats. So, but West, I guess, declared total war to Russia, trying to punish Russia for military action in Ukraine, and pressing hard even in that spheres, even in diplomatic sphere and in the sphere of the sport. Russians just recently had very good results in Winter Olympics and in Beijing, and now we could see probably our greatest athletes wouldn't be able to compete with anybody except in Eurasian space. It is painful. It is painful hit.
And how are people reacting to this? Do they feel that it's unfair, especially those who have gone out publicly to
Well, unfortunately,
protest?
about sport,
Rustem,
yeah,
let me
it's
ask you
existed.
Rustem, let me just finish asking you this question. The fact that you have people on the streets who are protesting against the war, do they feel the action is fair? And I ask this because I understand that Daniil Medvedev has for the first time taken the first spot on the men's tennis world rankings. There's the International Volleyball Federation that's announced that Russia has been stripped of hosting the men's volleyball championships, and as you mentioned, the Olympic Committee as well.
Well, of course, our society is divided about all of these issues. In general, the rating of Mr. Putin is higher than before. It's more than 70%, and it used to be like below the 60. He has a tremendous amount of support from one hand. From another hand, we have a very active minority which is protesting against war and not happy with that situation. But if we're talking about sport, yes, people do feel it's unfair because it's all of that started way before any military action in Ukraine. Non-stop harassing Russia with supposedly usage of the doping. Even we have all powers, one way or another, to be able involved in the doping scandals in the course of the last 20 years. So Russia is not really original, but only Russia was punished so hard not to be able to allow flag. And in recent Olympics, our little champion, Alina, was basically terrorized with the blame. Supposedly she used some prohibited medicine, sometimes in December, because traces sort was found in her blood, Kamila Valieva. And whatever. People feel it's only that scandal was created artificially and only with a desire to torpedo Russian Olympic champions. So from that perspective, when skiers, whatever, our figure skaters are punished, yes, people do feel it's unfair. Doesn't matter what, war or any of that. It's not related. So that's public, generally how people feel. You probably could relate to that very well because South Africa used to be under severe sanctions for many years, and South African athletes wanted competition as well.
Has there been any reaction to this now? The UK and the US has said very publicly, very clearly that they're going to not only target the Russian president, but his friends, the oligarchs around him. But there's been news that Valerie Gergiev, who is the chief conductor of the Munich Philharmonic, has had that position withdrawn because she is seen not only as a close friend of or a supporter of President Putin, but the fact that, and this has been said, that it's because Valerie Gergiev has not in the past been critical of the annexation of Crimea. Well, Rustem, are you still with us?
Hear you. Yes, I am.
Okay, yeah. Valerie Gergiev?
Yeah, he is Ossetian ethnically, and that ethnic group in Caucasus is very militant group. It's very loyal people, very valiant people. So I don't think he will betray Mr. Putin, whatever. He remember what Russians did saving Ossetians from Georgians in 2008. So, and he was conducting orchestra in Skinval, right in the street, right after the war, when Russian helped Ossetian to get rid of a Georgian attack. So I think that people would understand his motivation and support him. Plus also, what is that? To demand from conductor or from singer, they have to condone their own leadership in the country, what they not right now present. It's kind of like, I don't think that's very legal, very lawful action. And it's personal intention of individual, what to believe and who to support, as much as he is not declaring, oh, I'm in favor of the war. As I understand. But in the West right now, very different understanding. All of that cancel culture seems very weird to me. So I mean, like, what? We're not going to publish Borges, Argentinian writer, because he was in favor of rightist dictators in Latin America in the 70s. He is still a great writer. So, and the same thing with it's personal opinion, and I think it should be separated. Creative part of individual and political rationale.
Rustem, thank you so much for speaking to us. Rustem Safronov is a journalist in Moscow, and what's also happened is the International Ice Hockey Federation has also announced a similar ban, also applying it to Belarus, as well as withdrawing Russia's hosting rights for the 2023 IHF World Junior Championships. Now, both the Russian President Vladimir Putin and the Belarusian leader Alexander Lukashenko are both major ice hockey fans who often play in exhibition games with celebrities and ice hockey icons from their countries. So just talking about the effects of the war on Ukraine for brand Russia.